Pete Hegseth has done it again, and I am a bit surprised because considering how much this administration loves suppressing speech, you think they would be able to keep their own secrets private, their own communication closed off. But that is not the case with Pete, because the least qualified, most incompetent, and most likely to be inebriated member of Donald Trump's cabinet, of course, has struck again, leaking secrets, leaking messages, and this time they are exposing Donald Trump's crimes once again. And we are going to get into it all. But before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video. And if you have not already and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button, because it goes a long way in supporting our work. Now before we get into how Pete has once again screwed over his boss and exposed his crimes, I want to start with a Democrat who did that so perfectly today in front of Congress, and that is Jasmine Crockett right here.
This hearing when we know that this administration can't take care of their own business. As we know, they recently illegally bombed yet another Venezuelan boat, and we may be headed for a war. We know that this particular president has decided that he wants to shake down people as relates to the First Amendment, because he has filed not one lawsuit, not two lawsuits, but he has filed numerous lawsuits. He filed a lawsuit against the New York Times. He filed one against the Wall Street Journal, against CBS, against ABC, against the Des Moines Register. He is doing all of this because he wants to quash any speech that is not appreciative or lauding him, which is pretty much anything that's factual. So let's talk a few facts about these January 6th felons that should still be incarcerated because they went through the process, but because they were doing things on his behalf, of course, he wanted to let them go. So they released more than 1,000 people who participated in the insurrection on this government, many of whom who had previous criminal records, like Mr. Theodore Mendenforth, who was convicted of predatory criminal sexual assault of a child, or Mr. Peter Schwartz, who had 38 prior convictions, including one where he beat his wife by repeatedly punching and biting her. Trump also pardoned Mr. David Daniel, who was convicted of production and possession of child pornography. Trump also pardoned Mr. Daniel Ball, who, quote, threw an explosive device that detonated upon at least 25 officers during the Capitol riot. He also had a record for, quote, domestic violence by strangulation. I'm not done. Trump also pardoned Mr. Andrew Taki, who sent nudes to an undercover law enforcement officer who was posing as a 15-year-old girl. Mr. Casey Hopkins also received a pardon from Trump, and Mr. Hopkins was convicted of forcible rape. According to court records, he, quote, had forcible intercourse with the victim, choked her to the point of impairing her vision, banged her head into a wall, and urinated into the victim's mouth as he humiliated her. These are the people that he decided to release in the streets of D.C. So if anybody does need to clean up D.C., I would agree it is this man, because he is the one that is causing half the crime that we have. Not only is he participating in the crime, but we know that he instigated the insurrection. And if I did say that I had one issue with the Biden-Harris administration, it is the fact that they did not move forward and make sure that this man was put where he should have been put. Because the last time I checked as a criminal defense attorney, and Mr. Attorney General, you may have a different experience, but I never had a defendant that had 34 convictions for felonies and did not spend one day in jail. Never in my life. And the last time I checked, the party of law and order is the only one that decided that they would be out of order and decided to nominate someone who was not only indicted but was actually convicted of multiple felonies. That has never happened in this country, and it is a shame that we are dealing with it now, and now he wants to tell y'all how to do your job.
If you ever want to be a mega Republican, and I do not know why you would, but you would have to do exactly what Jasmine Crockett just exposed. The most blatant hypocrisy, shameless lying that comes out of this administration every single day. It's very clear that Donald Trump does not give a shit about Charlie Kirk. He does not give a fuck about any of Epstein's victims. Donald Trump just wants to exploit any political moment for all the gain possible that he is. That's what he is doing with Charlie Kirk. That's what he is doing with this nation that crime is exploding in DC. It's just not the case. Donald Trump wants to present himself as the big, strong, tough guy because he understands that he is a bloated fat gut is what we actually see. His melting face is obvious to all. And even though you put makeup on your hands, Donald, it does not cover up the fact that you are melting both inside and out. And so, yes, Donald Trump is pretending he cares about crime, but he does not, both at home and also abroad, especially in international water where Donald Trump has been committing war crimes. And Peter Hegseth exposed that in a leaked report that's coming out. Hegseth's own lawyers sound the alarm on Trump's drug boat killing. Military lawyers warned Donald Trump that strikes on alleged drug smuggling boats were potentially illegal, but their opinions were ignored or sidelined. According to a new report, Trump announced this month that the US military had destroyed three different boats that were allegedly crewed by members of the Trinidad and Orgua gang smuggling drugs to the US. From Venezuela, the president shared footage of the two strikes, which killed a total of 14 people, on social media and mentioned a third boat in passing while speaking to reporters outside the White House. Officials have refused to answer questions about where the strikes took place and under what circumstances, and have not provided evidence that the boats were carrying drugs. They have also not provided a legal authority that would justify the summary execution of civilians. But within the Pentagon, some career defense officials and military lawyers have provided verbal and written opinions to the Department of the Defense leadership, saying they were concerned about the legality of the strikes, which was leaked to the Wall Street Journal. The US Coast Guard often intercepts suspected drug smugglers, but the standard rules of procedure for dealing with cartel members are to arrest and prosecute them, not execute them. The officials identified problems with the legal justification for the strikes, and they warned that the soldiers who conducted the attacks could be held personally liable for the killings. But the officials believed that decision makers at the Department of the Defense sidelined them and ignored their concerns. A source told the paper other officials are looking for ways to provide legal protection for the individual military personnel involved in the strikes. The chief Pentagon spokesperson denied to the journal that any Pentagon lawyers with knowledge of the strikes had raised concerns about their legality, and said that the administration was on firm legal ground. Let's call this what it is, an act of political violence. And the same way that Donald Trump is sending our tax dollars to help perpetrate a genocide is political violence. How he does not care about little kids killed in school in America in the same way that he does not care about children being killed and starved in Gaza. Donald Trump just does not care. I refuse to engage with anyone who demands some fake reaction, some folks outrage from me to settle something inside of them when they have no real sympathy, no real care for children who are losing their lives. Political violence that America is enacting, that's what's happening right now. And at the same time, Donald Trump is trying to kill any dissent around that, not just as it relates to Charlie Kirk, but any attack that he is carrying out. It is intimidation and it is the suppression of speech that speaks out against it. Donald Trump not only wants to appear tough because he thinks if he does, we will forget that he is a, big bowl of lard covered in Big Mac joys, which honestly, I am more of a quarter pounder guy. And that's the biggest problem there. But the fact is that Donald Trump also wants us to think that he is indestructible, that he cannot be beaten, that his administration and its Project 2025 plan is all but settled. That's not the case. Donald Trump continues to lose in court and is suppressing dissent because it works. If our words had no consequence, no meaning, if they did not engage people, why would he want to try to shut us down? Why would he need to shut us down? It's because it matters. That's why Time was saying this right here.
Last week, the Trump administration took this airstrike on a boat off the coast of Venezuela. First of all, we have sort of no information on who was on that boat or who was killed. It might be, as the Trump administration says, members of a drug cartel. It might be civilians. We don't know. But there's two important things here that are really concerning that you need to know about. First is the president has no legal authority to take that strike. We are not at war with Venezuela. We have not declared war against any of the cartels there. This is a president who every single day is acting like the law doesn't apply to him. That's a problem domestically as he uses the Department of Justice to target and harass his political enemies. But arguably this is a even bigger deal internationally, because if the president can take strikes against anyone anywhere without congressional authorization, then he can also drag us into wars overseas without any debate domestically. This is the most irresponsible, reckless president America has ever seen. And to let him engage in military activity overseas without the consent of the American people, it's so dangerous. But the other reason this matters is
So, of course, the administration is not on a firm legal ground, and it's clear that Peter Hegseth just cannot keep the lid on the Pentagon. And what is also clear is that this act of political violence does not fall under the umbrella of all the condemnation that Donald Trump has demanded from liberals, demanded from the left, who he says are always carrying out violent attacks. But when it comes to Donald Trump indiscriminately bombing anybody, he runs free, he is fine, and it is not to be questioned. And that's kind of the theme of this administration. A lot of crime, a lot of corruption, a lot of gin and tonics, repeat Hegseth, but certainly a lack of accountability, and it's likely because they just try to keep so little information out there. And I think the best way that we can arm ourselves against this administration is to understand the nature of their attacks. They flood the zone with so much shit that sometimes it's hard to stay on top of what's actually happening. And we need to better understand what is not every story. I will certainly try to. But I think this one is uniquely important. And Senator Charis Murphy gave us the explanation that we need right here.
If you ever wondered how democracy dies, you're witnessing it. And I know it's people are watching a football game tonight, and we're kind of sleepwalk through this thing. But
don't remind
this
them.
is,
We got
said,
him here,
one of the most
Governor.
outrageous affronts. Yeah, well, right. It's one of the most outrageous affronts on this. This is North Korea style stuff, and it's being done because this is a weak, thin-skinned man who's failing as a president. All of the things he promised are not happening, and this is exactly what dictators do. It's our most cherished freedom to point out very clearly this is a terrible president and a terrible human being.
They are afraid of the power of our collective voice, and especially in an age in which we see the explosion online because of you all of independent media. They know that Donald Trump is not going to be checking me by speaking to my corporate overlord, because I do not have one technically. It's you all. So hopefully, he does not intimidate you into not watching my show. That's it. This is the relationship. There are no aid executor. There is no one in a suit who really is just there to push the agenda of a larger conglomerate, because we need to be breaking up these larger media conglomerates. This is part of the reason we are in the place we are. It's just us, and we are gonna continue to fight. And if you wanna support me doing that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video, and if you stuck around at the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. And until next time, I will see you soon.